Hello everyone. I welcome you all to Manu Law Classes The Hindu Delhi edition September 11 newspaper analysis. In this particular video, we will discuss today's newspaper and our first news is about G20, which we will discuss. As we all know that G20 has been concluded and here our Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi, he asked for the virtual review meet. So here the New Delhi Declaration, African Union membership, these are the high points of the events and here it occurred and the Lula da Silva or the president of the Brazil, he took over the next G20 presidency. As we know, India transferred its G20 presidency to Brazil and the next G20 summit will be concluded in Brazil as India took it from Indonesia and now it gave it to Brazil. So these are the triocas, okay. Now the G20 under the India presidency, it will convene in the November a virtual summit regarding the outcomes of this particular meeting or is this particular summit and also the outcome of the New Delhi Declaration. And along with that, the presidency has also been transferred. And in these 2 days, as said by the Mr. Modi, that this will be a good progression if we will conduct a virtual summit. The Delhi summit also witnessed a very important news about the induction of African Union and also there was a joint declaration of the summit which was adopted with the consensus and with that there was stark difference among the members regarding the Ukrainian crisis, but apart from that all the important discussions were agreed unanimously and here the outcome was the Delhi Declaration. So we will discuss about it in the next news. Moving further toward our next important article, that is about the Morocco earthquake. As we all know, a very big massive earthquake happened in Morocco and this was very devastating and it killed around 2100 people and this was because of the uncertainty in the Atlas mountain. Okay, so we will first see the location of the Morocco. So as you can see, this is the Morocco country. Here is Atlas mountain located and this is also the Saharan region. And here this particular strait is called Strait of Gibraltar. Okay, this particular strait is called Strait of Gibraltar and it separates the Morocco and the Spain. And this is the map of Morocco and here Atlas mountain is located. The Morocco is a African country and it is located at the border of the Africa and Eurasia or Europe plate, tectonic plate, and that's why there is so much uncertainty in this region and that is the main reason the earthquake occurred because of the convergent plate boundary and all these incidents are happening. So just remember about the Morocco, just remember about Atlas mountain and about the Strait of Gibraltar. Now moving back to our news analysis that is coming in from the G20 portion and here we will discuss a very important news which occurred in the G20 in the sidelines of G20. Here as we know that the CM of Himachal Pradesh, she also attended G20 summit and while attending the summit he said that a cumulative loss of around 12,000 crore were occurred because of the heavy rainfall that triggered various landslide and flash flood and cloudburst incidences in the area of the Himachal Pradesh. And because of this, there is a lot of loss of money as well as life and that's why the CM, that is the Sukhvinder Singh Sukhu, he urged Prime Minister to declare it as a national disaster so that they can get more funds and they can get more relief compared to considering it as a normal disaster. So that's why this is what happened in the background of the G20 summit. Now moving further toward our editorial section. So this whole article is talking about One Nation, One Election campaign and here as we know that there is a proposal of simultaneous election which means that the election of state and election of nation or center center is more appropriate word, it will occur at the same time. As we know right now, the state election are happening sometime later, or they are not in coordination, and the argument is regarding that it will save much time, but in the disagreement people are saying that it will also create a lot of confusion among the people, and they won't be able to access their right of vote freely, and they won't be able to express their interest in a better way. So here the simultaneous election in the Lok Sabha and the state assembly is a very hot debated topic, since several committees have been formed since 1999 and they have given their proposal, and they all wanted that there should be a permanent simultaneous poll, and it basically took over with the another important decision which happened now. So the simplistic idea of the one India decision, it taken by the union government, and the proposal here is the most important. As we know that this proposal came into being, and here people are just concluding that whether it will be safe or not. So as we know, till the time of like between the 1971 and 2004, where the voter turnout in the state is lower when the assembly election are held separately from those of Lok Sabha. So this data shows us that it is also beneficial that the voter turnout will be more. But along with that, what is not beneficial, as said by the scholars, that people won't be able to differentiate between the election which is occurring in the नेशनल लेवल और सेंटर लेवल एंड एट द स्टेट लेवल। अगर हम अभी के वोटर्स का डेटा निकालें तो मैक्सिमम वोटर्स जो आपके वोट करते हैं इस टाइम पे, दे बिलोंग टू द लो सोशियो इकोनॉमिक बैकग्राउंड। मैक्सिमम जो इंडिया में अगर ट्रेंड देखा जाता है तो उसमें मैक्सिमम लोग लो सोशियो इकोनॉमिक बैकग्राउंड के होते हैं जो वोट डालने के लिए जाते हैं। यहाँ पे दे डोंट हैव दैट मच ऑफ गुड नॉलेज अबाउट द पॉलिटिक्स एंड ऑल्सो अबाउट दैट विच पार्टी इज देयर, किसका इलेक्शन हो रहा है, तो इसीलिए यहाँ पे ऐसे लोगों के लिए एक प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी। दे वोंट बी एबल टू डिफरेंशिएट एंड दे मे select same party at the nation as well as at the state. So this can create a kind of bias, as said by the author. This project, One Nation, One Election agenda, as said by the author, is basically a political project with a message that only one government, one political party and one leader can deliver and transform India. So this is said by the author. But here also, along with that, the homogeneity can also wipe out the idea of federalism. Now the One Nation, One Election agenda is much more like the One Nation, One Tax, One Nation, One Ration card, and like this oneness, it has been implemented. If implemented, it will permanently increase the multifold of the administrative and the political centralization power in the hand of the union and the weaken the state government. As I already told you that they will select only one party, and this can create a lot of problems. And also there is instances that sometimes the state government, they usually dissolve because they don't get the majority, and this can lead to a lot of problems. And at that time, what we can do, what can be the solution, this is a very important issue. Like in case if suppose state assembly is dissolved, so we will wait till the time the national election will happen, or what can we do? The election can be conducted. If in one state this happens, then how can there will be simultaneous elections? So it is very tedious process and it is very cumbersome process. So that's why here the whole idea is about the weakening of federalism and how it will be implemented. This is the major question. Now, along with that, as we know, India has been named as Bharat. Now it has been replaced as Bharat in the G20 Summit also. The name India was replaced by Bharat. So here, as these things are coming into scene, it is creating a kind of question in the southern state that there is a superimposition of Hindi language on them. So this is about this whole article. Now moving toward another important article, that is about stock taking calamity. as we know, G20 Summit, it also talked about the climate crisis. So in this particular summit, there was, as we know, that UNFCCC COP28 will occur in Dubai, UAE. So before that also, we are also conducting various talks and discussion on the clean energy. The global biofuel initiative or alliance, it was launched in the G20 summit, and it is also focusing on use of biofuel, and also it reiterated the India's program of 20% blending of the ethanol with all the petroleum and diesel. So these all things show that we are moving toward a good climate, or we are taking care of our climate, and we are moving toward a clean energy. So there was discussion in the G20 summit about the clean energy, sustainable development, and also about the collective responsibility which is necessary to avert all the problems which is occurring in the climate change scenario. So UN Global Stocktake, a report which has been just released ahead of the G20 meet, it set out the challenges which are awaiting in front of the major economies with regard to these problems. So here, as we know, that 28th COP will happen in Dubai in November. This will a good chance to talk about the 2015 commitment to reduce the GHG or the greenhouse gases. In this particular year, it is also called Paris Climate Agreement. Here, the UN Convention on Climate Change signatories, they agreed that they will stop the rise of the temperature by 2 degrees Celsius, and they should limit it by 1.5 degree at least. So this was the target, but we all know it was never achieved. So these are creating a lot of problem, and because of this there is a lot of problem which is occurring, and here also it is necessary to mitigate or implement these domestic mitigation measures in order to reduce greenhouse gases by 43% by 2030, 60% by 2025 in order to reach the net zero emission by 2050 globally. India's net zero target is 2070, but all the countries, maximum of the countries are trying to achieve this target by 2050. And also the meaning of net zero is not that we will stop producing carbon dioxide or we will stop all the consumption of carbon dioxide. It actually means that whatever source we are creating, if suppose I am driving a car and I am creating a lot of pollution, so I should also plant some still. That means that I should also go for afforestation, I should also go for ocean development, ocean cleansing, because these are a great sink. So that's why this is what the net zero is, that whatever source you are producing, you should also produce the same amount of sink so that there should be net zero impact on the climate change. So here the net zero target globally is 2050, India's target is 2070. Based on the current information, the emission gap is consistent with the 1.5 degrees Celsius in 2030, and it is estimated to be 20.3 billion tons to 23.9 billion tons of CO2. It need to be like sink of this much of carbon dioxide need to be created in order to achieve net zero by 2050. Now here the main problem or the main solution I can say for this problem is that we should go for renewable energy. We should always go for renewable energy, then only we can reduce this much of the carbon dioxide. So by that, as we know that in the G20 Leaders Summit, there was a global biofuel alliance which was signed. So these are the initiative which is being taken in the context of the climate change and with regard to this problem of CO2 emission and how the sinks can be created. So this is all about this whole article, and here also G20 leaders declaration, it formally recognized the need for US dollar 5.8 to 5.9 trillion in the pre-2030 period required for developing countries, as well as US dollar 4 trillion per year for the clean energy technologies by 2030 to reach the net zero by 2050. So this data is very important. Just remember this. And for that, we need to go for afforestation. We need to adopt the electric vehicle, and also we should also go for renewable energy source like the solar and other things. So this was about this Stockade report, and this was about this whole article. Now moving towards our next important article that is coming in from the G20 Summit, important upcomings of the G20 Summit. So here I want to focus about this important news that AU leaders welcome admission into the G20. So here African leaders in this New Delhi Summit or the G20 New Delhi Summit, AU leaders joined G20s formally. So we will talk about AU because it has joined the G20. So we will talk a little bit about AU, all the important points regarding the AU. AU is African Union. It is basically a continental body which consists of 55 member states, and it makes up the countries of the African continent. As we know, the name is about the African Union, so it is a continental body of the African countries, and it consists of 55 member states. It was officially launched in the year of 2002, and it replaced the predecessor organization, that is Organization of African Unity. It was replaced by African Union. This Organization for African Unity, it was formed in the year of 1963. The primary objective of African Union is to promote unity, cooperation and development among the African nations. And also they talk about the global interest which is required for them. So this forum, by adding them into the G20, it can serve as a very big platform for the African Union to be a part of this big forum and also tell their interest and also develop their economy. So here, this particular body aims to strengthen political, economic and social integration among the African countries as well, and it has a vision of achieving an integrated, prosperous and peaceful Africa. Its headquarters is located in Addis Ababa, that is in Ethiopia, that is the capital of Ethiopia. So its headquarters is located in Addis Ababa, and regarding the structure, it has various bodies which include, first one is the Assembly. So Assembly is the highest decision making body, and it comprises of all the heads of state and government of member countries, like 55 member countries are there. So all the heads of the state and government will comprise the Assembly, and it is the highest decision making body. Then next is the Executive Council. Executive Council is made up of foreign affairs minister, and it deal with or handles all the policy matters, and it makes recommendation that what should be taken into consideration for the Assembly. Then it has AU Commission. AU Commission is headquartered in Addis Ababa, and it is the administrative arm of for implementing major decision. Okay, it is the administrative arm of AU for implementing major decision. Then AU also has Peace and Security Council, which is responsible for maintaining, as the name suggests, peace and security of the continent. AU structure promote the participation of the African citizen and civil society through the Pan-African Parliament and the Economic, Social and Cultural Council. So this is the main bodies which govern the African Union. Now moving back to our news analysis, it is very important, just remember each point whatever I have taught here, because this is a very important news and is had been inducted in G20. Now Russian foreign minister, as we know that Russian prime minister president did not came in the G20 summit, and here he sent his foreign minister, that is the Sergei Lavrov, into the summit, and here it talked about various other important issues like there will be no change in the military and technical supplies due to conflict which is happening between the Russia and the Ukraine. So there will be no stoppage of these military and technical supplies of S-400 missile system to India. It will go as it was planned. And apart from that, there is also a thing which they talked about, Black Sea Grain Initiative. As we know, Black Sea Grain Initiative is an initiative for the free and safe passage of grain from Ukraine to other part of the country through Black Sea, and here this deal was brokered by UN and the Turkey. Okay, so it was stopped after the Kerch Bridge attack. Now they are just talking about the reviving of the Black Sea Grain Initiative, and it was basically a major shift. It was basically a major talk. Then there was compromise solution. They talked about that all the Western countries should not just impose their decision on the other countries. They should also go for compromise. So there are ortho Bali paragraph which is there, and apart from that, they also talked about the importance of global South and uphold their legitimate interest, and the West has been unable to Ukrainize the agenda to detriment the discussion of the developing country. So this was what said by the Sergei Lavrov. Now here the chief among the bilateral issues has also developed a payment mechanism which will allow the two countries to fully utilize the payment made in the national currency in order to sidestep the US and the European sanction. We already know after the attack which Russia did on Ukraine, so there was a lot of sanction imposed on Russia, and because of that they can't trade in the dollars. So that's why here, in order to sidestep this dollar or a part of de-dollarization, we can say, these two countries, India as well as Russia, they are looking toward another alternative to pay their money in their national currencies, and also they can carry on their trade. So this was about this important article. Now moving further toward our text and context section. So here we have an article on the Bhartiya Nayay Sanhita clause 69 or section 69, which talk about the false promise to marry, and it is talking about this particular thing. So section 69 of the proposed Bhartiya Nayay Sanhita, it identifies that any sexual intercourse on the false promise of the marriage is an offense, whether it is done on the promise of marriage or for job or for promotion. It is a deceitful act, and that's why it has been penalized, and here it is a crime. So section 65 creates two violations, one by deceitful means and one by the false promise to marriage. So deceitful means here include the false promise of employment, promotion, inducement, or marrying after suppressing the identity. And the false promise of marry will also attract only when a man makes a promise to marry a woman and with the intention of breaking it and for the purpose of getting her consent and sexually exploiting her. So this was the section which has been introduced, and under this there was a 10 years of imprisonment clause, and it will be finalized soon. Apart from that, in the 2016 data of the NCRB, it has been found out that there are a quarter of rape cases which is occurring because of the false promise of marriage is being given by the male counterpart, and based on that they are conducting rapes. So this is about the whole article, and only section 69 is important. I have already taught this thing quite a long time, so just remember only this much. Next is about the China-backed hacking group. This is very important, as Microsoft said that the China-based hacking group has breached US government-linked email account. This is very important name, that is Storm 0558. Just remember this name. It is basically a company which gained access to the email account of 25 organizations, including the Western European government agencies and the email account of the top American officials. So they are basically hacking these email accounts. So the attack on the email account of an American government official was first noticed when the customer reported abnormal activity, and based on that they said that Storm 0558, they have gained the access to the email account and they are affecting so many organizations. So what is this Storm 0558? So the Microsoft Threat Intelligence, with their moderate confidence, they have assessed that Storm 0558 is basically a China-based threat actor with activities and method consistent with the espionage objective. For example, they take your data, they take access of your email ID, and then they do the spying thing, और आपकी जितनी भी important details हैं, chats हैं, उस पे ये नजर रखता है और spy करता है. तो यहाँ पे ये जो आपकी group है Storm 0558, it is basically operative with the distinct group, and its core working hour are consistent with the working hour in China, and that's why there is a suspicion that it is China-based group which is doing such thing. So here the hackers are doing what? What is a cryptographic key? First we will try to understand that. It is a string of character जो आपके encryption algorithm में काम करते हैं. Within the encryption algorithm एक cryptographic key होता है जो बेसिकली आपका डेटा को इलेजिबल बनाता है टू समवन विद अ करेक्ट की. मतलब अगर किसी के पास करेक्ट की होगा तो वो आपका इसको ओपन कर सकता है, जिसके पास नहीं होगा ये क्रिप्टोग्राफिक की पे अटैक करके वो आपकी डेटा को चोरी कर सकता है. तो यहाँ पे एक फिजिकल की होती है, अ क्रिप्टोग्राफिक की encrypt the data and it is used to decrypt the encased data by the holder of the key. For example, if I have this key, so I can have the access. Just like अगर मेरे पास ताले की चाबी हो तभी मैं गेट खोल सकती हूँ या ताला खोल सकती हूँ. On a similar note, क्रिप्टोग्राफिक की भी आपका एक चाबी की तरह होता है. अगर मेरे पास ये की है तो मैं यहाँ पे डेटा को एक्सेस कर सकती हूँ. So this is what the cryptographic key is. In case of SSL encryption, जो आपका HTTPS में यूज होता है, there are two types of encryptions which are used. First one is symmetric and another one is asymmetric. Symmetric encryption जो होता है उसमें जो दोनों साइड की कन्वर्सेशन होती है, they use the same key for turning plain text into the cipher or the encrypted text. मतलब दो साइड जो है, जो कन्वर्सेशन हो रही है उसमें सेम की यूज होगा. और एसिमेट्रिक में आपका या पब्लिक की एनक्रिप्शन में दो साइड जो होती हैं वो अलग अलग कीज यूज करती हैं. एक आपका पब्लिक की होता है और एक आपका प्राइवेट की होता है. प्राइवेट की कभी भी शेयर नहीं किया जाता पार्टी के साथ, किसी और के साथ. और यहाँ पे प्लेन टेक्स्ट जो होता है वो आपका एनक्रिप्ट होता है इनटू द पब्लिक. सो दिस इज हाउ द एनक्रिप्शन और द क्रिप्टोग्राफिक की वर्क्स. Now, how did they acquire this Storm 0558, acquire these all access? So the Microsoft, after investigation, they revealed that this particular key, it has been stolen from its corporate environment due to a series of error, and based on that, they got access of these key, and that's how they are basically hacking and doing the espionage activities using these key. So this was about this important article. Now, moving further toward our next important article. As we know, G20, it is a very important meeting which happened, and in that also a major outcome which occurred in good, we can say, finance minister track and the central bank governor track. So they will discuss about the crypto regulation plan at Marrakesh in October. So the G20 leader declaration has endorsed the Financial Stability Board recommendation to regulate and supervise the crypto asset activity, and they welcomed the synthesis paper of the IMF and the FSB, and based on that they will discuss about this, and these will be discussed in the Marrakesh, which will happen in the next month or the October month. So this is a very important news. Now moving further toward our next important article that is coming in from the World Affairs. So here there is a prize which has been given. Yorgos Lanthimos and Emma Stone, Poor Things, won the prize at Venice. So the Golden Lion in Venice, they have awarded on Saturday about the hilarious and the shockingly explicit reworking of the Frankston Poor Thing starring Emma Stone as the sex-mad reanimated corpse, and they had won the award, that is the Golden Lion Award, and here they accepted this. So this is all for today. I hope you like this lecture. I hope you like this discussion. So we will conclude over here. Thank you everyone. Thank you for attending this lecture.